What would you say is the most profit you've made a month from one Airbnb or one deal or one thing, as in monthly?
The most profit I've made in a month, probably I'd say about 4 bags from one property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another good episode featuring Easy Property Solutions, Gabriel Sion, Wes and myself. I hope you like this episode. Please like, share, subscribe, and yeah, do that all before you watch this episode. Thank you.
Let me get my serious hat on.
He said toothpaste.
Let me get my serious hat on because because we got guys in the building who are
I'm gonna start the episode.
Say the only thing they flip is houses.
This is why they say men are trash, bro. Yeah,
Hey, Gabriel was a crash out.
Nah,
Gabriel was a real crash out.
Gabriel is an advanced demon, innit? Like,
I'm a retired one.
Huh?
I'm retired.
Bro,
Look,
in Demon Slayer, you're the one that could walk in the lights.
I tell you this,
That's how demonic you are.
for a very long time, okay, they've been giving Yoruba men a very bad rep. And I don't think it's good because when you've got guys like, Easy Property Solutions here, who's a distinguished gentleman, an honorable member of our community, a humanitarian who does charitable work, and it's great to have such honorable men in our presence. Done a bit of research on you, and it's great to see that there are young men who can do the right thing by people, and ensure that
why are you looking at me? I didn't know. Why are you looking at me?
I'm trying to introduce our guest, and I don't understand what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Everyone, sorry, maybe it's your scumbaggery that has.
I'm just trying to introduce a guest,
Okay.
This is a young man who's 27.
That's fine.
Entered the property game about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's in his stride. Hasn't let distractions
100%.
take him away from his goal
Facts.
or from his prize.
Facts.
Because sometimes when people chase the pound sign, they lose their queen.
Facts.
Even though the queen's gone, but you get the
Just
point.
Facts,
So
facts.
so I was want to say, what made you start this journey into property, whereas there are so many other things or vehicles you could have used to find love, but you chose property to be your second love. So I'm just wondering why you.
That's got.
diabolical.
That's funny, man. But for me, property is something that I always knew about from time. I think family members were in property, but I think I didn't know about the creative ways to get into property, because what most people know is just buy a house, put a deposit down, buy a house. But when I was working in primary school at the time, I was thinking I don't have enough money to buy a house.
Okay.
But I had some money there, like around £10,000, and for the strategy that I started off with,
How old is you? 10k.
2021.
You can't just skip that part because
Okay, cool.
Because I know we're in a different time and era now, but I'm trying to think, how old was I when I got my first 10 bags? No, things have changed. I was probably 24 or 5. So how did you? So that was 10.
Huh? Were you working in a cover warehouse?
I was. Car from warehouse.
That's it. I knew it was.
Catapulted a lot of us. Commission-based salary.
Yeah.
So sorry. As you were saying,
money
sorry.
will never run out.
So you're 20.
20 at that time. Yeah.
20 with 10 bags.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say you started. When did you start working?
Okay, cool. So I used to live in Liverpool because I was playing semi-pro football, professional football back then.
Did you get injured?
No, still play semi-pro football now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, because that's my story.
That's
I was
it.
injured, but I wasn't that good.
Pete. For me, so went there, started working in primary school. Was working in primary school full time while I was playing semi-pro football. So semi-pro football, you get paid as well.
Okay.
And working in primary school, obviously still living with family. Then I was just stacking the bread. So for me, bread was stacked, working full time, and then found out about the creative ways to get into property. I found out the creative ways to get into property, which was like rent to rent, where you need about £5,000 to £8,000 to get started.
Okay.
And then for me, that's when my eyes were opened, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna run with this because it works for me.
For those of you who are not aware, what is rent to rent? Imagine I'm a 5-year-old. You're trying to explain what rent to rent is. What is rent to rent?
So essentially, you take a property from a landlord or an agent. You take it as a company, and then you use the property either for like service accommodation, which is like Airbnb, or you can do it for like HMO. For some people might say like student accommodation and things like that. So I started off with HMOs, and then I diversified into service accommodation. But I also work with like social housing companies, care companies as well. So I take those properties and I use it for either Airbnb, social housing, HMO.
Is it as simple as you're making it out? So, for instance, you said you do rent to rent. So I think an HMO. So basically, in essence, what you're saying is you get a property off a landlord.
Yeah.
Okay, you'd have to decide whether it's affordable for you to make a profit on top of.
Yeah.
So let's say, for instance, let's say you found a 5-bed.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say the guy wants £3,000 a month for the 5-bed.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of mathematics are you doing in your head for you to? So for instance, what is the minimum you expect to get profit-wise from a rent to rent? I know it may differ because if you've taken on a 2-bed and you've taken off a 5-bed. So what would you say generally is your percentage that you want to get back from something?
Okay, cool. So first of all, HMOs, it's not the same how it was years ago when I started. So for me, I don't really advise people taking HMOs unless you own it. So obviously, I bought a property that's going to be a HMO, but I wouldn't take one as rent to rent now because the numbers really don't stack. As you said, right now you can see 5 beds at 3 bags. Back when I started, my first 5-bed was 1.9. So again, when I was renting out like 600 per room, I was making a decent profit. But
How
now
many bedrooms were in that?
that's a 5-bed.
How many bedrooms were in there? Oh, so
It's a 5-bed, yeah.
1.9.
Yeah.
Bedrooms in that 5-bed.
So obviously now I thought
No, because remember with a 5-bed, you might have a front room you should change into a
another bedroom.
There's 5 bedrooms and a lounge.
Oh, okay, so because you might have two, you might have dining rooms, you can make it
no,
6,
I get
7.
what you said. But for me now, I focus on like Airbnb. So very quickly, I can do the maths. For example, like my 2-bed, I've got a 2-bed not too far from here, which we're going to see after. That one, the rent I'm paying is 1.8. I'm renting that out at like 160, 170 per night. I've had a guest in there for 4 months, and in 4 months they pay me 18 bags from that one property. So for me, that's what I'm saying, like Airbnb type of model, it makes more sense compared to like HMOs, because again, nightly rates, especially summer, you can bump up the prices. And for me, I've obviously grown my business to a point where like insurance companies get in touch with me. So if somebody has like a fire or something in their house, they get in touch with me, I'd accommodate them, and obviously the rate that you can charge is like very high.
It's a lot more, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So that's where I'm at now, in terms of like the rent to rent side of things.
And what would you say what are the downsides? So for instance, I think sometimes we paint these industries to be all roses and daffodils and pims and dandelion and burdock when it's not the case. So what would you say what is one deal that you regret going into?
One deal that I regret, I mean, I told Wes about this before. There was one deal, I just took it on very quickly, and I was losing like £1,000 a month over that, in fact, because I didn't do my due diligence properly. So,
as in you didn't realise you couldn't get as much of a return on it, or what was
yeah, so basically it was a 5-bed house, cinema room, but it was in a dead area. Like the area wasn't nice, but I thought taking on a 5-bed cinema room, looks nice, already furnished. I thought it was gonna do so well. It's in Chatham.
Okay.
So Ken, yeah. So I thought it was gonna do so well, literally right next to the station. But bro, there was no demand for it in that area. Again, because people don't have as much. Well, in that specific area, when people are booking, they're looking for things that are much cheaper. But a 5-bed, you obviously have to market it higher because obviously your rent and bills and everything are higher. Yeah, that was Airbnb.
Now that means with Airbnb, am I right in saying that you're typically going to have one person book it and take the whole house, basically?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, exactly that.
Okay.
Some people do it for rooms, but for me, it doesn't really make sense. But when you do the whole house, it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, that one was losing me a lot of money.
And how many days? So obviously we have like 31 days a week.
Yeah,
how many days would you say you kind of need to make sure your Airbnb is rented out for you to be able to make some kind of a profit? How many days out of the 30?
So when I'm doing my due diligence on any property, I always go with 50% occupancy, 70% occupancy, and 15-70. 50 is half of, let's say 30 days in a month. You do 15. How quick can you get your money back? If you can get your rent money back within 15 days, I'll say that's a good deal. Because generally on bad months, you're getting over 15. And then obviously you look at 70% because that's the average.
Okay.
Because in a whole year, for example, summer you might get like 90%. But during the low periods, you might make like 50%.
Yeah.
So 70% is obviously the average. So for me, when I'm looking at a deal, I'm looking at how much can it make at 70% occupancy. So for example, that deal in like near here, like 170 a night, I'll times that by 21 because that's 70% occupancy, and then obviously I'll deduct that from like the rent and the bills, and generally I can see how much exactly, and I can see how much I could be making.
Okay, and you're saying now that you're now going into buying property now.
Yeah, I bought my first property recently. Yeah.
Okay, congratulations.
Appreciate it, bro.
And what was the thought process behind that? So why did you decide to own and no longer sort of do the rent to rent? Because sometimes we're bound on ownership so much, which I think is important, but I think there are so many ways to skin a cat, meaning, you know, let's say for instance, I don't know, let's say someone's got a mortgage and their mortgage is costing them £2,000. And let's say they're renting the place to you for 2,500. Okay. Now they're probably, let's just for argument's sake, say they're making £500 a month, but there might be nuances here and there. Of course. Let's say the property is increasing every year, but we're not going to work on that. Now, let's say for instance, you're doing your Airbnbs and rent to rent. Now, what would you say is the most profit you've made a month from one Airbnb or one deal or one thing, as in monthly?
The most profit I've made in a month, probably I'd say about 4 bags from one property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is it fair to say now that, let's say for instance that continued throughout the whole year?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that would be close to what, 48k?
Yeah.
Okay, for the year. Now, is it fair to say that it's going to be very rare that the landlord who owns that property would have been making 4k a month on top?
100%.
Very rare, isn't it?
100%.
Now, was it fair to say that his property may not have increased by 48k that year?
Yeah.
Which means, obviously, there's nuances here and there,
of
but
course.
typically one could argue that you, as the the second man in,
Yeah.
is potentially making more money than the actual landlord.
Definitely, yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah, and that's the thing about when it comes to ownership, that it is good to own,
Yeah.
but there are other sides to making money.
Yeah.
But I guess you might be putting in a bit more work.
Yeah,
Than the landlord. Landlord's just maybe sitting down,
Yeah,
whereas you're putting in more time to make
Yeah,
that money,
exactly.
but still making.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So why did you buy on this occasion?
So for me, again, with the properties I have, for example, one of my properties, the landlord increased the rent by £600, and
Was it
again,
justified to you?
it was justified 100% because again, interest rates, mortgages, everything's gone up. So I completely understand, and that property is making me a lot of money anyway. So I understood it, But for me, I realized that if I own these properties, I'd be making so much more because I'm running them as Airbnbs or HMOs. They're obviously making their cut, the landlord. But if I was to add mine on top of them, I'd be making a lot more money. So for me, I think obviously Airbnb, the rent to rent route, is good for cash flow. Again, you want to build a cash flow business, but at the same time, you've got to also think long term. And so for me, owning properties, it's more of the assets, the long term, the capital appreciation. So I feel like when you combine them both together, I feel like that's when you have more stability.
Okay, so with this property now that what area have you got this property in?
So I bought this in Huddersfield.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes people would say that it's best to keep all your eggs close to you. What made you decide to go all the way to Huddersfield? That's like near Leeds, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What made you go all the way there to buy your first
So
property?
first thing, my business partner, he lives up north, near
cool.
Leeds. But 2, it's much cheaper. And for what we want to do, we want to buy properties that are cheap, where we can add value, make it into like 6-bed HMOs and achieve a commercial valuation. So we've bought one, 137k, and commercial valuation, we hopefully should be at like about 260.
Is that after you've kind of done it up?
Yeah, that's after done everything. And there's another property that we're going to buy. We're going through conveyancing. This one's 65k. That's a 4-bed or 3/4 bed, and we can convert that to a 6-bed as well. So again, we're going to shoot up the value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so your whole game right now is looking for properties that you can actually say they've got a whole heap of floor plan space, which is not being utilised properly. So you might have like a massive master bedroom, which maybe you could have split into 2 rooms
bedrooms.
or. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many people have you got on your team?
So the Airbnb, the easy property, it's just me. Obviously, I have people underneath me like subcontractors, like handymen, cleaning team, and things like that. But in terms of the acquisition, the buying, it's just me and my boy. We're doing that together. He comes from a construction background, so we add different things to the team.
That's dope.
Okay. No, 'cause I think I think property is one of those things where I think so many people are in it, and I always wonder that whenever someone shakes those keys, I think the first thing people say is congratulations.
Yeah.
And in my head is I know it probably sounds a bit bad, but I want to know the deal first.
Yeah.
Before I congratulate you.
Of course.
Because I know putting money aside, I think maybe the congratulations that you managed to save the money.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what the congratulations is, because I think, what would your take be on buying flats? And when I mean flats, I don't mean masonettes. I mean buying flats as in like apartments. What's your take on?
What ground up and?
Yeah, so like say for instance, I live in a flat for instance where there's I think 9 flats in the block.
Okay.
What's your view on buying flats in general?
Personally, I wouldn't do that. I'm more against buying flats, and the reason is because I feel like when you compare the capital appreciation of a flat to a house, they don't really compare. So for me, I'd rather put that money in a house rather than in a flat, because I know that years down the line, the house is probably going to do significantly more. So that's why me personally, I wouldn't really be looking to buy flats.
I think that's one thing that I think everything's about affordability, and I think a lot of people can't afford to buy houses.
Yeah.
The other day I was having a conversation that was saying that where are all the barbecues, and I said to my friend, no one owns homes. Like, our age group don't have back gardens for us to do barbecues. Obviously there are people who have got back gardens, but generally speaking, most people are living in flats or renting rooms. They don't have that big garden space. Now you're going into the landlord game. There are so many people who don't like you.
Yeah, I know.
you know, we have all these slum landlords and people who increase rent prices. And I say, if the government are not doing their job in regards to building properties and building houses, surely private people have to step in and do that. Okay. Now, should there be a cap on how many homes somebody can own?
Nah, man. I wouldn't say there should be a cap, man, because I think when you look at properties that us developers look to buy, we look to buy properties that are run down. The average person probably wouldn't want to buy a rundown house because it's going to take a lot of money a lot of money in time, which they don't have. So other than that, that house would have just been sitting there, you know. So for us, we're solving problems, you know. We're taking rundown houses and we're making them into better houses, you know. And I feel like a lot of people are so quick to put the blame on landlords, but you know, if you look at your employer, how much are they increasing your salary by? You know, but the energy is always directed towards the landlords, you know. But I feel like there are other people in place that, you know, the blame should be shifted to rather than just landlords, man.
And who would you say the blame should be shifted towards? Is it the government, or what? Who would you say it should be taken to? I think we're at a point now where the cost of living is crazy. Yeah. Now, obviously, let's say for instance, you've got this place in Huddersfield, and let's say for instance your mortgage is costing you, I don't know, call it $1,000. Okay. You now realise that you can rent this place out for 2.5.
Yeah.
Are you going to rent it out for 2.5?
100%. I feel like, bro, if you know that you can make money, and then everybody wants to make more money, so it's like, why wouldn't you want to make more money if you could make more money?
So obviously it's a business, obviously, as we all know.
Bro.
So therefore you're in it to make money. So even if so irrespective of the fact that maybe your mortgage is only costing you $1,000, as far as you're concerned, I can get 2.5 for this, and you're gonna go
Real
obviously.
Niger businessman, boy.
No, I guess it's fine, but I think the problem lies where.
You're demonizing this.
Yeah, I think the problem lies is where we where I like to have a bit of empathy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, nobody's going into property for charity.
Facts.
You know, when you've got to fix a boiler or fix a roof, or this has gone off or that has gone off, and you've got to dip into your pocket to fix it. I think people may not see that side. But what would you say is the end goal? So is the end goal now to go into buying properties? Are you going to ever stop doing Airbnb, or are you saying one is cash flow at the front and one is for money at the end, or what's the actual? So
for me, the rent-to-rent side of things, I think I'll continuously do that. I don't really care to go past 20. For me, it's just about a cash flow vehicle. So continue to build cash flow through there. Acquisition, gonna start buying properties, convert them to HMOs.
Well, part of the problem though. Sorry,
Am I part of the problem?
No, I just thought about it. Because look, if you're taking all these Airbnbs, these properties off landlords, and you know the average Joe who wants to maybe rent somewhere can't find places to rent because people like you are more concerned for those who are coming out of town to live in the area short term. Isn't that taken away from the property that some of us could be living in?
I wouldn't say that, bro.
Where's your humanity?
I wouldn't say that, and the reason is when I look at my HMOs, for example, people, again, I don't increase my rent on the tenants have been there for like 4 years, bro. Some of them I haven't increased their rent. It's only when new people come in that I bump up the rent because again everything's gone up. So for me, for the value that I put in with the HMOs, they're all good. You know, anytime there's an issue, sort it out straight away. Some landlords, they don't offer that. Airbnbs, there's some families that I've had to locate because issues have happened at their property. Some people that families that accommodate with social housing, you know, they might be fleeing from domestic violence or something like that, or serious issues in their property.
PR is very great, by the way. I'm saying your PR. you try to use that. No, you weaved out that one very well. Very well. I have to commend you on that one. You weaved out that one very well.
It's like the way I see it is, instead of me just accommodating one family, bro, I'm helping multiple different families. So for me, I don't feel guilty in what I do. Yes, I make money from it, but bro, I'm solving a problem. And when you solve problems, you're always going to make money. It just happens that I continue to solve problems and people are paying me a good price for it. You know, so for me, I don't feel bad in what I do. Airbnbs, HMOs, I don't feel bad in any of it, bro.
And when is enough? Because right now you said you don't want to go past 20 Airbnbs.
Past 20, yeah.
Okay, why have you used that as your benchmark, as your tapping out number?
Because for me, again, I wouldn't say I'll tap out, but for me, it just comes with more stress, bro. Like where I'm not trying to, again, like I'm on holiday, bro. A guest could be messaging me saying this has gone off, that's gone off, bro. It almost becomes like a second job. Yeah, you could put people in places, but when you just want to think of that, the profit margin and everything, I want to go to a place where it's very comfortable. I can still do my own thing. But for me, as I said, acquisitions is where I'm at. For me, what I want to end up doing is buying land, building up flats, build to sell, build to rent, and one thing I actually want to do long term is actually buy schools as well. Like buy the land on schools, obviously rent it out, you know. So for me, and then end up buying businesses as well So for me, I want to really
So
diversify.
at 27, you've amassed how many rent to rents at the moment?
So I went up to 17. I gave 2 back, so I'm at 15 at the moment.
Okay. And how many would you say you've done last year? How many new ones would you say you picked up last year? What year was it where you acquired the most?
So it wasn't last year; it was the year before.
That was 2022.
Yes.
Okay.
So I took on 10 in 10 months.
You took on 10 in 10 months, so
Yeah,
you did one a month literally?
Yeah. Basically, I was working full time in a primary school, so I was doing that. And then the following year, obviously, I went through a period where everything was dry. Like the Airbnb bookings were dry, and for me, yeah, bro. When I hit that point, I was like, I need to really pivot out of this, bro, because if I'm taking on so many, guaranteeing over 30k a month, bro, I can't just be not affording to pay rent. So for me, that's when I really started to diversify, and then I said I'll slow down, and then I started working with social housing companies, support living companies. And I think I took on like 5 or 6 the next year. And so obviously now I'm at a point where I don't necessarily just focus on taking on more. I'm more picky with it. Obviously I have my mentorship program where I help people at the same time. But yeah, for me, I'm at a stage where I'm a bit more picky with it. I'm not just eager to take on any property I see.
Okay. I think with I think what do you value more at the moment? Would you say it's your time or money?
Time, bro. Because I feel like they work hand in hand, you know. Because I feel like the more money you make, it kind of creates like time and freedom. Like right now, bro, I wake up and I kind of like do what I want. Like it sounds crazy, but like sometimes like I forget that. It sounds mad, but I forget that some people at work. Yeah. Because like I'm on my laptop and I'm just handling business like on my phone.
But that's work though. Yeah.
I know that, but it don't feel like work. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Because you're pointing to yourself.
That's what
why.
I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. But when I was working,
That was a big pause, by the way.
Settle down, man. I thought we were trying to be grown now. Wasn't it you like that sent in the video the other day about that raw? They sent in the video the other day that saying every time you're thinking pause now, it's like you're saying normal things, but you have to think a gay thing to be normal. So you not sent that video. So I thought we was trying to be grown up now.
Move on, bro, that was wild. You're putting it in yourself. That was wild, bro.
Bro, I wasn't thinking of gay thoughts. You were thinking gay thoughts.
That was wild. Sorry. But yeah, you're putting it in yourself. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, so obviously when
I look at Wes.
Because he said you're putting it in yourself, and he's like, yeah, man.
They got you.
Alright, go.
What I was saying is, yeah, when I was working at primary school, like I just think back to when I was having like 15-minute breaks at like 10:15, and then I was coming like 2 minutes late for my break, and then people were like complaining lunchtime as well at a certain time, and then when I just think to my life now, bro, I don't, I live on my own terms. Like if I wanted to travel and just be wherever, bro, I can do that. The only reason I'm here is obviously because I still play semi-pro football, I enjoy it. But yeah, really and truly, bro, location freedom. So I feel like money and freedom and time, they go like hand in hand, man.
Okay, I think you mentioned something about, you know, work, as in being on breaks, etc., and being told technically what to do.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting because I think for me, if you can't, and I'm gonna generalize. I'm gonna say if you can't, and this is just my opinion, if you can't work in a 9 to 5 because of discipline or because of being told what to do, you're lucky that you're not in a very customer face focused business. Because if anyone's going into a customer face focused business and you don't like dealing with people, you're in trouble.
I agree. But also, I definitely think in my industry, it's heavily customer faced. Because at the end of the day...
So it is then, you say?
Yeah, 100%.
But you don't deal with your Airbnb customers?
I do, the guests.
Oh, so you actually go, as in physically?
No, I don't need to like go there physically. But I still deal with them. On Airbnb, they might message me, or if they have my business WhatsApp number, they'll message me saying there's a problem with this, problem with that. So I'm constantly solving problems. Like one of my properties nearby, which I'm gonna go to after, bro, the boiler's leaking and it's coming outside, bro, something like that. Another one of my properties, the hot water's not even working. So I'm constantly dealing with problems.
The roof collapsed on the other one.
Exactly, roof collapse on the other one.
Now the one where you said the roof collapse, now when you take these properties on,
yes,
am I right in saying that is the maintenance still down to the landlord, or is it down to you?
The maintenance is down to me, but generally the structure of the property, like things like roof and even things like boiler, is down to the landlord. But maintenance, like for example, the door handle comes off, that's down to me.
Okay, so and is that because, is that the deal that you set up? Is that generally for all Airbnb, or is it individual to each landlord?
So it's generally for most companies, like you deal with the maintenance, the white goods, the wear and tear, but the structure is generally down to landlords. And I guess that's why some landlords prefer giving it to a company, because they're not going to get random calls at 11 p.m. at night saying that's broken and that's broken. Yeah. The company's the one that deals with it.
Okay, so when a boiler goes for your Airbnbs, you're ringing the landlord to say, look, your boiler's not working. Then he will send someone there to go and repair it.
Exactly.